Hello everyone, hope you all are doing great. Last video was about resting membrane potential, okay? What was resting membrane potential? When the cell was not conducting any impulse. Action potential on the other hand means कि stimulus आया, so now the neuron will conduct the impulse. Now, before going into depth, you should know what are the questions asked. So questions asked can be explain genesis of action potential, explain phases of action potential, and explain the ionic basis of development of action potential. Okay, so these kind of questions are asked. So all these questions will be answered in this video. Okay, so action potential I'm dividing it into two parts. Okay, this is the first part. Now, so what was action potential? Stimulus आया, now the cell will conduct the stimulus, but there's a condition कि the stimulus should be of threshold value at least. So what does threshold means? Minimum इतना strength का तो stimulus आना ही चाहिए, तभी ही action potential will be generated. So what is the threshold potential in case of a neuron? In case of a neuron, the threshold potential will be minus 55 millivolts. Okay. अगर थोड़ा कम स्ट्रेंथ का स्टिमुलस आया, सो एक्शन पोटेंशियल वुडंट बी जनरेटेड. दैट टाइम पे लोकल पोटेंशियल इज जनरेटेड. दैट यू get it clear in further upcoming videos as well. Okay, now RMP में which were the channels functioning, those were your leaky channels and sodium potassium ATPase pump. Now in action potential, which channels are functioning? In action potential, the channels active are sodium voltage gated, potassium voltage gated, and sodium and potassium leaky channels to a small extent. So important point to remember is sodium voltage gated and potassium voltage gated channels are the channels mainly active during action potential. Now we'll see कि actual होता क्या था. Suppose this is your cell. So okay, this is ECF, this will be your ICF. ECF में which ion is more? It was your sodium, correct, and ICF में it was potassium. Now stimulus आया, stimulus is coming from outside, so to enter the cell, stimulus will move from ECF to ICF. So ECF में which ions are more? ECF में sodium ions are more. Okay, so sodium का influx होएगा, sodium will enter. Now cell का membrane potential was minus 70 millivolts, which was your resting membrane potential, and this was your equilibrium potential. Now action potential आया, तो stimulus has arrived, तो sodium has entered the cells, but minus 70 वो थोड़ा सा positive हो जाएगा. But what is the law of nature कि everyone wants to move towards equilibrium. So the cell would again want to become minus 70 millivolts. तो ज़्यादा positive charge जो ICF में हो गया है, it should be reduced. So how will it be reduced? By potassium efflux. Okay, so sodium influx, this process will be called as depolarization, and potassium efflux is your repolarization happening. Repolarization मतलब वापस से it is bringing it back to resting membrane potential. ठीक है. Now okay, so you have understood कि threshold potential कितना है and which are the channels active. Okay, now another thing I want you to remember is sodium. Just remember it for now. Sodium will show positive feedback, and then it will show inactivation of gates. Okay, potassium on the other hand will show negative feedback. Okay, so sodium is showing positive feedback, and then inactivation of gates, potassium is showing negative feedback. Now what does this mean? Okay, that you'll get to know. Positive feedback मतलब क्या कि if sodium is entering, तो sodium enter हो रहा था, so what process was occurring? Depolarization. So once the membrane is depolarized fully, तो भी more sodium is entering only. the permeability, देखो सोडियम एंटर कैसे हुआ, बिकॉज द वोल्टेज गेटेड चैनल्स हैव ओपनड, सो परमेबिलिटी टू सोडियम हैज़ इंक्रीज्ड, तो सोडियम आया, ठीक है, बट डीपोलराइज हो गया है, स्टिल इट इज एंटरिंग, बिकॉज पॉजिटिव फीडबैक मतलब वन सोडियम चैनल इज सपोर्टिंग द अदर चैनल्स एज वेल कि आने दो सोडियम को, राइट तो फिर ऐसे तो मेम्ब्रेन में सोडियम वुड बी एंटरिंग, तो कंटिन्यूसली डीपोलराइजेशन ही होगा क्योंकि देर इज नो वन टू स्टॉप देम, सो हेंस सोडियम बस हो गया भाई, अब सोडियम नहीं चाहिए हमको, सो देन देर विल बी इनएक्टिवेशन ऑफ गेट्स, बट पोटेशियम विल शो द आइडियल बिहेवियर कि पोटेशियम विल गो आउट ऑफ द सेल, इफ्लक्स हो गया, तो जब RMP -70 मिलीवोल्ट्स के क्लोज आ जाएगा तो तभी गेट्स विल गिव द ऑर्डर कि क्लोज होते हैं, क्योंकि RMP was our aim and it has been achieved, so gates close हो जाते हैं, so that is your negative feedback कि once repolarization is done there will be a signal given to the gates that you should be closed, right? Now another thing which I want you to understand in depth, and see, you might find this video difficult because see it is taken from standard books, right, and standard books are difficult to read, the college के professors and all won't be teaching इतना अच्छे से, मतलब इतना depth वाला, okay, they would be teaching very superficial, so please pay attention. Now I just want you to pay attention to the green and the yellow graphs, okay, the green graph is of sodium permeability and the yellow graph is of potassium permeability. Now for now don't look at the y and x axes, okay, green wala is for sodium permeability, y wala is for potassium permeability. So what you can observe is sodium की permeability फटाक से increase भी कर रही है and फटाक से decrease भी कर रही है, whereas potassium की permeability to the membrane वो increase भी slowly कर रही है, decrease भी slowly कर रही है, means see sodium is showing the steep slopes and potassium will be showing gentle slopes. मतलब सी सोडियम का चैनल्स हैव ओपन वोल्टेज गेटेड, तो परमेबिलिटी इंक्रीज हो गया, बट देन डीपोलराइजेशन हो गया है, सो नाउ देयर विल बी इनएक्टिवेशन ऑफ सोडियम, सो फटाक से परमेबिलिटी इज लॉस्ट कि अब तो सोडियम वुडंट बी एबल टू एंटर, नो, सो परमेबिलिटी इज लॉस्ट लाइक रैपिडली, बट पोटेशियम एक तो एक्टिवेट कब होता है, जब सोडियम आ गया है उसके बाद, सो परमेबिलिटी राइज भी स्लो हो रही है एंड देन ये फॉल भी स्लो है, ये फॉल, दिस स्लोअर फॉल you will understand it better when you will see action potential graph, which I'll explain in the next video, okay? So hope you have got it till now. So okay, let me check. Threshold potential is done, the phases, the questions asked are done, channels functioning is sodium voltage gated, potassium voltage gated, and to a small extent sodium potassium leaky channels, and feedback mechanisms you have to remember, sodium पे positive feedback and then inactivation of the gates, क्योंकि कितना depolarize, no, depolarization is done, no, so now stop, and then potassium का negative feedback होता है, okay, so hope you have understood. Prerequisite for the next video will be you need to remember 3 phases, okay, you need to remember depolarization, repolarization and hyperpolarization, okay, so this is depolarization is when sodium is entering, repolarization is when potassium is exiting out of the cell, and then something called as hyperpolarization that I'll explain, okay. So hope you have got it, and if you have still any doubts you can comment below, and please after this video you just read the standard textbooks and you will get, okay. So thanks for watching.